We're going to talk about peace, and again, as Kathleen says, there's so many things to focus on in terms of peace right now. So, I want to start with a poem, and this is a poem that I found from Davis Thomas at #TheMumblingHermit. He's got some really great poems. You should check him out. Voices in the crowd tell me how to lose myself. We have all the answers, they say. And yet, I keep wandering off. That's kind of like our commitment to peace. We get centered and we're floating around, and we keep wandering off. We get knocked off center. We can even forget to recenter ourselves and just go spiraling to places that we don't really want to be. For me, it's been an interesting week. I was preparing for my talk, and I don't know if it was Monday or Tuesday, and I'm watching the news, and there's this monstrous hurricane. Just bam, right there, heading towards Florida. I have many dear ones in Florida, in Tampa, and I was just struggling. And I woke up that night, and I just had to pray, and I said, well, I had most of the talk together, was blushing, and I said, looks like you're going to have to walk the walk. It's not about just talking, it's actually I'm going through having to put these into practice. And I'm sure everybody has their own stories about what they're going through in terms of really getting into this place where you have to actually do what you talk about. So, and today and tomorrow I'm still in it, so, and it's working, mostly. So, I wanted to also tell a story, because we like our poems and our stories to get us thinking about it. And the story I found, again, was so appropriate for what many of us are facing. And this story is from IamSpiritual.com, and it's The Real Meaning of Peace. There once was a king who offered a prize to the artist who would paint the best picture of peace. Many artists tried. The king looked at all the pictures, but there were only two that he really liked, and he had to choose between them. One picture was of a calm lake. The lake was perfect, like a mirror, for the peaceful towering mountains around it. Overhead was a blue sky with fluffy white clouds. All who saw this picture thought it was a perfect picture of peace. The other picture had mountains too, but these were rugged and bare. Above was an angry sky from which rain fell and in which lightning played. Down the side of the mountain tumbled a foaming waterfall. This did not look peaceful at all. But when the king looked closely, he saw behind the waterfall a tiny bush growing in a crack in the rock. In the bush, a mother bird had built her nest. There, in the midst of the rush of the angry water, sat the mother bird on her nest in perfect peace. Which picture do you think won the prize? Of course, the wise king chose the second picture. Do you know why? Because, explained the king, peace does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. Peace means to be in the midst of all those things and still be calm in your heart. That is the real meaning of peace. And I thought, reminder right now. And in talking with family members, hearing the quiver in their voice as they're preparing, I talked to my brother, I said, be calm, be calm. And he said, I know. So it's really appropriate right now to put a personal spin on this. There is a struggle to feel peace during times of strife or challenge. And this often causes anxiety related to current events. Kathleen mentioned some things in politics in North Korea. The environment. These things can leave us feeling powerless. In our personal lives, our relationships, our family, our responsibilities, careers, retirement, or other transitions in our life can leave us feeling overwhelmed. Small, everyday irritants. For me, they're rush hour traffic, trying to park at Trader Joe's. Oh my gosh, that's really up there. You go in centered, but you really got to work at it. And watching the news sometimes can just knock us off center. Social issues, the poor, the hungry, the homeless. This can cause us stress and leave us feeling hopeless. How can I help? There's so much need in the world. This can cause anxiety or feelings that affect our ability to maintain a feeling of peace. Conflict can also cause anxiety or worse, suffering. We see people suffering around the world due to conflict. Migratory patterns are the highest since World War II. People are trying to find peace. Yes, they want food, water, and shelter, but above all, they want safety. And safety is in the places that are peaceful. That made me think, what feeds conflict? And I came up with some words, and I know you guys could add to them, but these are the words I came up with. Anger, fear, ego, greed, a feeling of lack, selfishness. These are just a few things that can feed conflict. And so I said, what is peace? Again, I sat there and thought about what words provide peace or make you think of peace. Being centered, being loved, knowing there is divine order, a feeling of being home. Stillness and balance. Peace is also one of the fruits of the Spirit. Galatians 5:22 tells us that the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. This is a great template for us to keep our consciousness on the things that we should be working on within ourselves for a balanced and peaceful life. And then I wanted to know, what is the biblical meaning of peace? In English, the word peace conjures up a passive picture, one showing an absence of civil disturbance or hostilities or personality, free from internal and external strife, a state of tranquility. the biblical concept of peace is larger than that and rests heavily on the Hebrew word shalom, which means to be complete or to be sound. The verb conveys both a dynamic and a static meaning, to be complete or whole, to live well. The noun has many nuances, but can be grouped into 4 categories. 1, shalom is the wholeness of life or body, health. 2, shalom as right relationship or harmony between 2 parties or people, often established by a covenant. 3, shalom as prosperity, success, or fulfillment. And finally, shalom is victory over one's enemies or absence of war. I got this from BibleStudies.com. In summary, it's peace within, peace between, and peace among. So how do we attain peace in the midst of everyday life? So I'm going to address it from those 3 areas, beginning with peace within. It's the same place we go to so many times. Kathleen talked about it last week. You get centered. And so often, if not always, that's the first thing that's needed. But how? Meditation and prayer. You have to make time for meditation and prayer, and boy, isn't that a challenge. But even 5 minutes to start getting in the silence and praying can make a huge difference. For me, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night. And I hear a lot of people say they do that, and I start praying, because usually this thought just bubbles up and wakes you up. And I start praying, and that's a great time to do it. Affirmations, I use that as well. It could be the word peace, calmly recited over and over. You may have your own word that works for you. Sometimes I use go to sleep over and over to get back to sleep, and it works. Replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts. Often if we have a habit, whether it's smoking or whatever it is that you may be trying to break, you have to replace that habit with something that's positive. Sometimes people who are trying to quit smoking, they get the patch, but they may need a lollipop or something to chew on, because you have to often replace something positive for that negative habit that you're trying to break. And it's true with thoughts. So if you're thinking, that person is about to get they're on my last nerve, and I am going to just go off. You might say, this is a child of God who is here to challenge me, and I'm going to remain calm. So you just replace that negative thought with positive. And if it's really strong, the negative thought, you can say, stop, before you replace it with a positive, just to get that whirligig to stop going. And then there's a few more things that are really good to get you centered. Nature. Anybody that's got a dog or a cat or a bird, they can come up and really just snap you out of your, oh, woe is me, when they start their antics. You can, before you know it, you're laughing, and sometimes I think that's why they're here, is to help us help ourselves. And then walking in the woods or in a botanical garden, your own garden, or messing with your plants if you're in an apartment. I am a really cheap date. Just get me walking around with some flowers, and I am happy, I am amazed. So just look around and see the beauty in see if that doesn't center you very quickly. Honesty. I love to go to sleep with a clear conscience. So I am Miss Goody Goody Six Shoes. Forget about Goody Goody Two Shoes. I just love living in an honest position. And so, just being honest, having that clear conscience helps you to be centered. Acceptance, accepting what is, and that was also talked about last week. That is so huge. It's not necessarily what you want it to be, it's what it is. And if you accept it, you're not struggling against it. You can deal with it in a more centered way. Service. Service will get you out of yourself so well. I, years ago, had to heal from a loss, and I just volunteered for the organization that helped me. And it was so healing. It can be centering and it can be healing. So do something to help somebody else, and you will not be thinking about yourself or your problems when you do that. Music. Barbara, she shows us that every Sunday. That piano starts to play and you're just transported from whatever you came in with. You just go to that beautiful place. So thank you for everything you do, Barbara. Contentment. I feel like I'm just taking these on and off, but it's what I do. Contentment is so wonderful. Whatever you have, be content. If you're in a little apartment, here we go again with the flowers, buy some flowers, get some pretty curtains, but just be grateful for what you have in the present moment. And that is so centering. And then finally, gratitude. I just said it a minute ago. Think about the things you're grateful for, your health, the people around you, being here, surrounded by the people we're surrounded by right now. Get into gratitude. These are all tools to help you get centered, and you've heard them before. Never hurts to hear them again. Peace between. Transcend your ego. You've heard that before too. It's not that easy. We need our ego, but we need our ego to be kind of in a reasonable place. If it gets too big, then, I'm right, you're wrong. That can cause conflict. And don't judge. Don't judge yourself, and don't judge others. And listen. I read this week that we should work on listening 75% of the time to what the person is saying. I don't know that I'm going to get there. I'm going to try. But it's a nice benchmark. And then talk, 25% of the time. And you can teach yourself to stop and listen. Everyone has a point of view, and they're entitled to it. Do you want to be and give love, or do you want to be right? Stay in your own lane. You get to determine your lane, and other people get to determine their lanes. But work on your house before you start trying to tell somebody else what to do about theirs. And don't expect others to meet your expectations of them, because they may not. Because we're all each on our own journey, and they may not be ready to get where you think they should be yet. So be prepared that people may not live up to your definition of where they should be right now. Peace among. Use your power of one to affect change, and when that links with others, it can move the world. We all know the saying from Mahatma Gandhi: you must be the change you want to see in the world. Gandhi told us to see the good in people and help them. So one more Gandhi quote. Man becomes great exactly in the degree in which he works for the welfare of his fellow man. I started with a poem, and so I'm going to end with one from Dr. Wayne Dyer. Peace is the result of training your mind to process life as it is, rather than as you think it should be. Thank you.